My mom always struggled with death. She had a weak immune system and often got so sick that I had to help her to the toilet and wash her body. I was basically her nurse, while my dad always got home late, saying he was working long hours to put food on the table. But I knew he was lying. Back when I was a child, he often took me to his friend, who also had kids. They sat us in front of the TV while Dad and the woman went to another room and locked the door. Of course, I was curious and sometimes listened at the door, but back then, I was too young to understand that my dad was cheating on my mom. But now I was older, so once my mom had recovered, I finally told her, "I know Dad is cheating on you. You have to dump him and find someone better. Don't worry, he just goes drinking with his friends after work." "No, he's not. Instead of taking care of you, he prefers sleeping with other women. Doesn't that bother you?" Well, my mom was in denial. I guess she loved Dad too much. But maybe I could open her eyes if I showed her evidence of his unfaithfulness. It wasn't too hard. All I had to do was stand behind him and watch the pattern he used to unlock his phone. At night, I crawled on my knees to his nightstand, took the phone, rolled under the bed, and checked his messages. Turns out my dad is a huge creep. He had a group chat with his buddies where they took photos of random women on the street so they could rate them on a scale from 1 to 10. It was so disgusting. But then I hit the jackpot. Just 1 hour ago, he had received an SMS saying, "See you again tomorrow, my bad boy. Heart, heart, heart." Then I waited for breakfast and told Mom. I went through Dad's phone last night and found a woman sending him messages. "Liar! No one believes you." "Oh, really? Why don't you show Mom some of your SMS?" My dad didn't hesitate, and I realized that he had already deleted the message. I felt like an idiot. And of course my mom didn't believe me without evidence. But now my dad was seriously angry. "You should feel ashamed of yourself, spreading lies just to get attention." "I don't care what you think. You aren't my dad anymore. I hope you die." That's when he took my laptop and broke it in half. He wanted to scare me, but it didn't work. He was cheating on my mom, and there was no excuse for that. So the next morning, I pretended to go to school early, but actually hid in the back of my dad's car. First, he drove to work like always. There, I had to lie in the freezing cold for 8 hours before he finally drove somewhere else. He left the car, and I took a look outside. Dad was going into a house I'd never seen before. Soon after I followed him, there was only one window with the lights on. When I looked through, I saw Dad sitting on a chair. Then a woman came inside wearing a short dress and sat down on his lap. The woman was at least 15 years younger than him. It was gross. And when they started kissing, I started a video chat with my mom. She said, "Where are you? I've been so worried." "Mom, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you something." "What happened? Tell me." "I'm fine. But I followed Dad and caught him with another woman." "Oh, don't worry. Just come home and we will talk about it." "Okay, but first I want to show it to you." I held the camera to the window and filmed my dad betraying Mom. She kept watching it for another 30 minutes, and so did I. Afterward, I went home and saw Mom putting Dad's stuff into boxes. When he opened the door, Mom told him, "It's over, you pig." But Dad didn't argue. He took his stuff and left, probably going back to the younger woman. I thought things would get better afterward, but life became even more miserable. We barely had any money, and Mom got sick again. We were about to be evicted from our house when Mom told me, "Call your dad. He might come back and help us." I hated the idea, but understood we had no other option. "Hey, sorry for calling, but Mom is sick and ran out of money. We would be grateful if you came back to support us." Well, my dad might not be perfect, but he moved back in with us the same day and paid off my mom's debt. He even hired a helper for Mom. But right from the start, I wondered why she was so beautiful. My dad said she was a college student in need for money. But why couldn't he hire an old lady with nursing experience? Well, the girl did her job and took care of my mom. But Dad constantly hit on her, and she always flirted back, even if my mom was in the same room. It must have been painful for her to see them getting along so well. But she depended on my dad, so he could do whatever he wanted. When I got my report card, Dad took a look at it and freaked out. "Why are you such a bad student?" "Huh? You've never cared about my grades before, so what's the big deal now?" "Oh, I'll send you to a 2-month summer camp as punishment." "Ah, now it makes sense. You want me to go away so you can get on with Mom's caretaker. You think I'm stupid?" "Oh, now you start lying again. Don't you remember where it led last time?" Wow, my dad was threatening me to behave or he would leave Mom again. I can't tell you how bad summer camp was. I made no friends and spent 8 weeks all by my own, reading the same book over and over again. When I got back home, Dad had some bad news for me. He said Mom had suffered a strong fever and permanently lost her vision. I immediately ran to her bed and hugged her. I couldn't understand why she was so unlucky. To make things worse, Dad told her, I love you, and I will always make sure you're fine. But I have desires, and I'm not interested in a relationship with you anymore. I want to date other women. Maybe marry a new wife. Mom was speechless and stayed quiet. Meanwhile, I screamed, You jerk! Just because Mom is blind and depends on you, you think you can get away with anything. Life is complicated, and you're too young to understand it. I love your mom, and I'm well aware of my responsibilities. Mom had tears running down her cheeks. She said, It's okay. Do what is best for you. And then she went back to bed, crying herself to sleep. The next day I walked into the kitchen. I saw my dad making out with a caretaker girl. I was shocked because she was wearing nothing but a bikini. Things got worse when Mom came to make herself breakfast. Dad and his new girlfriend continued kissing each other even though Mom was right next to them. It was absolutely disgusting. I said, Mom, you have to move out and find a new guy. But I'm blind and always sick. No one wants me. That's not true. You just have to search. There are many guys who would love to have a compassionate wife like you, and maybe you can date a blind guy. But my mom was too afraid of change and continued her miserable life with Dad. I recently graduated college and moved out. Now my mom is all on her own,